Good morning. It is 8:30. We will call this morning's meeting to order with the Pledge of Allegiance. Item number 3 on the agenda is an invitation for a citizen to schedule time on the commission agenda for an item not listed. And anyone wanting to speak during this agenda item must sign in prior to the start of the meeting. We do not have anyone signed in this morning, so we will move on to item number 4, approval of the agenda. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Any additions or corrections?
I don't have any.
All right. With that, any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Item number 5 is employee recognition. We'll have Commissioner Jensen present that this morning.
Happy birthday. I know it. I just hadn't seen you.
This is a certificate of appreciation. It's presented to Dane Larson. Would you like to come up? A certificate of appreciation presented to Dane Larson on this 20th day of December 2022 by the Brookings County Commission in recognition of 5 years of dedicated, exceptional service in the Brookings County Sheriff's Office. Thank you
very much. Appreciate it.
Thanks for your service in the United States.
Thank you very much.
Also, welcome back to Brookings, Dane. Good to have you back. Moving on to item number 6, the consent agenda items. We have the approval of the minutes, approval of travel requests, approval of personnel action notices, approval of cellular authorizations, approval of the human services report. Is there a motion to approve?
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, call the roll, please.
Pierce.
Aye.
Bartley.
Aye.
Jensen.
Aye.
Krogman.
Aye.
Boersma.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Item 7 is routine business. 7A is approval of the claims. Is there a motion to approve?
So
Move
moved.
approval.
Second.
Any comments? Hearing none, call the roll, please.
Bartley.
Aye.
Jensen.
Aye.
Krogman.
Aye.
Pierce.
Aye.
Boersma.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Item 7B is department head reports, and we'll start with BCOAC. Dustin.
Morning, everybody.
Morning.
I'll start with attendance for the building from November 1st, the last meeting I attended. We've had 367 through the gun range, 247 through the archery range, and we've had 44 events. We're doing Santa again. We had to unfortunately cancel on the 15th due to the weather, but we're going to try to do it again this Thursday on the 20th. We're doing a light show, camels, and Santa, and 4-H is actually going to do some arts and crafts and give out some hot chocolate for the public. We've been having some issue with rabbits chewing our lights, so that's kind of an ongoing problem, but we'll take care of it, I guess. League starts January 9th this year. We've had the request from multiple people to do a longer league, so we're going to run a 10-week league this year. And that'll start January 9th, and we're just going to go straight through. We normally take a week off, but we're just going to run 10 weeks straight through this year. We have 14 classes scheduled, our in-house classes, for some basic pistol and stuff like that. Joad held another archery tournament the beginning of December, and it was very well attended. They had 54 people. That was up 24 from last year. They had 30. They're doing a running shoot again like we did last year. But we're trying to figure out the date that works best with kind of all the other cities around that are doing other archery tournaments. So hopefully we get a date here soon so we can start advertising that. We finally received the decoy trailer, and I gave you guys a few pictures of that. Game Fish and Parks actually paid to have that all wrapped. It's got our logo on it, our number. As you can see, it's got a couple layout blinds and some full body decoys, and a couple snow goose decoys and some silhouettes for the public just to come. That's a free loaner trailer. You got to call us, set up an appointment to get the key. You get the key for a ball lock, and then you take the ball lock off, and you can have it up to 5 days. It's got to stay in the state of South Dakota, and you have to be 19 years of age to rent it. So that's pretty cool. Unfortunately, the season, I believe there's still a season down by Sioux Falls. It's still open, but it's closed for the year except for snow goose season. So hopefully we get that up and going next year and people start to find out about it. The viewing room project is complete finally. That only took about a year for such a small project, but it's finally done. I did some before and after pictures of that as well, with vestibule, new countertops, some paint, and we added some kind of educational pictures on the wall for people to look at when they come in. We did, the new flagpole is also up. I gave you guys a picture of that as well. We've had a lot of compliments on that, so I think that was a great kind of, I guess, improvement to the building that we've added as well. Train with HVAC, they've done their 4th preventative maintenance plan with our service agreement, so we're working on getting the invoice for next year's, and we have 1 year left in that invoice, that 3-year contract. So I'll present that to you guys next year to see what you'd like to do going on in the future. I finished the High Performance Leadership Academy. It was very good, did a lot of networking. I think it's a very good program if anybody has a chance to take that. And we did some basic maintenance stuff around the building with emergency lights and updating some exit signs that the batteries have died in. So hopefully all that stuff's up to date. Oh, and then we also, last minute, you guys approved the floor in the viewing room, and I think that turned out very well, putting the epoxy on there. It looks pretty sweet, as well as it's a lot easier to clean now. That carpet, you just couldn't get that lead out of there. So now we just vacuum that as well as the floor out in the gun range. And myself, all the volunteers, everybody out there, they really appreciate what you guys allowed us to do this year. So thank you from myself and them. But that's all I had, unless you guys had any questions for me.
Anything? No?
Thanks.
Great. Thanks, Dustin. We'll move on to Weed and Pest.
Good morning.
Morning.
Forward. You see it. So you all should have received this packet. You all should have received this packet in front of you this morning. This is the amount of chemical that we purchased this year from this. I'm wondering, can you folks just look at it? If you have any questions, can you please go to the next meeting and then I will answer them questions at that point. If you don't mind.
That sounds good, Misty.
I try.
So this is both spring and fall run, correct? Yep.
Both spring and fall run, townships,
And our,
first. Let's just kind of go through it just a little bit.
yep.
Here's the townships. This is, excuse me, what the township people reported to the townships itself. Amount the townships paid to the trappers, and then the total amount the weed department paid to townships is $1,390.50.
Perfect.
Fall
And-
run.
And then those spring and fall run are separated out, just so that folks know we can kind of compare and contrast those two.
In the next, in your packet, there's totals for the fall township run. It shows everybody that's paid. There's a zero where there's about 3 townships that have not paid. I've been in touch with them, waiting on them to have their last meeting. Next paper, that's a spring, excuse me, the spring run, just an overview of what we did. what it costed, chemical used, and who has not paid. There's one township yet. The third page in that is attached onto the spring run ship here. It just breaks down grassland, Freelex, and 2,4-D. That's what we used in the townships. So you have that information there also. County Road cattail spraying is the next, let's see, is the next paper, just so you have that information. The county roads that we did spray the cattails, I let you know earlier in the year that we would be watching them areas closely for weeds. But that's the cost of that. Here's the spring run county roads next in the packet. Just if you have any questions, please just get hold of me.
Can do.
And
All right.
I'd add, at our last weed meeting, we decided to continue with the program as is. We'll be doing the township spraying and also bidding on the state DOT. Did have a vehicle, one of the big trucks, had some mechanic problems with it, mechanical with the motor. Some filings got into the motor. Decided that we're going to go a little deeper into the motor and make sure it's good when it comes back from the service shop. So it'll be costing a little more than we anticipated, but the truck has quite a few years of use left in it, and we decided it's worth fixing because we know the availability of the trucks, or if you can get a different one or not. We just thought fixing it was a better option. So.
Sounds great. Thank you. Thanks, Misty.
Also want to let you know, March 2nd, 2023 is the annual Towns and Township meeting at the BCOAC, starting at 10 a.m. If you have any other questions, let me know.
Super. Thanks, Misty. We'll move on to County Development Department.
Good morning.
Morning.
I'd like to start off by wishing Commissioner Jensen a happy birthday. Last week I put out a lot of stuff in writing. On December 14th, I did write down, receive notification that our LAPC grant had been approved. That was a mistake. It's our PPCC. The Department of Health sent me some documentation to go ahead and sign, which I informed you we had applied for it. So we won't know the details until they sign the document and we get the actual document. But as soon as that document comes in, I'll work with the finance officer, Lori, to make sure that's all taken care of the correct way. December 15th, I went over to the United Living community. We had a tabletop exercise. That went well. One thing that was brought up is back in 2011, we did a generator. We assisted United Living community in purchasing a generator. And the agreement in place is dated 2011, and things have changed. Some minor, such as the name change, and other things such as staffing. So they requested that we take a look at that agreement and possibly start to update it. I want to work with the state's attorney. I'll send him a copy of the actual agreement in place now, and we'll start working on that, and we'll work with the county commission, obviously, and the city council and the ULC to update that agreement to modern standards. Tonight, we got a joint jurisdiction ordinance joint meeting between the city of Brookings and Brookings County Commission. Starts at 6 p.m. Basin Electric had a emergency first responders meeting last week, and they canceled it because we had that winter storm warning during the same time. Yesterday, we had a FEMA meeting. FEMA is willing, if you rebuild that shop, the shop down at the highway department that got literally blown apart. If you're planning on building that and you're going to build it while we're under their time frame, they're actually willing to pay more than what that shop was. If you want to make a better and improved shop, they're they're working with us on that, is what came out of that meeting yesterday. And so I guess it's just going to depend on when the county determines they're going to rebuild that facility. If you rebuild it at a certain time, you'll be able to get some FEMA funding. If you build it at a different time, that program probably won't be available to us, so.
Bob, could you enlighten us on what that time frame is?
Well, usually it's 18 months after the event, but I'll have to get you the exact date
Okay, thank you.
from them.
Did they specify any criteria about what they mean by a better shop? Does it mean?
Roofing, it can be taller, it can have, well,
Okay.
obviously it has to meet the whatever building standards, building codes that the current city that the building's in meet, but it can go bigger, it can go and better quality like roofing and things like that.
Okay.
They don't want the typical basic cheap roof, they want you to build it where it's gonna last. Because what they're saying is, and what came out in this meeting is, they're tired of rebuilding. Build it to the best standards you can, and, because there's gonna come a time when FEMA may not be able to come and help communities. So, and I think we're actually fortunate to have FEMA here helping us at all with some of the other major disasters in the country this past year, but we'll take what we can.
Bob,
Yes, ma'am.
does it have to be in the exact same location, or
No.
can it be it can be anywhere on the site?
Yes.
Thanks.
Because what you're doing is you're replacing that building. They could care less where the building is. It has to be in a general area. I mean, you can't do it in another county. Yep. We got a PPCC exercise, and this would be good for any commissioner that wants to come. January 12th, we're going to have a tabletop exercise, and this will be a true tabletop exercise with a big tabletop board set up, and it's going to be a simulation of the Swiftel Center. We've got a big 4-foot by 8-foot board. We've got the parking lot made up, and it's going to be an exercise called a POD, points of dispensing. Whereas if we got to give medication or something out, people would literally pull in one side of the parking lot and go step by step by step and get whatever we're giving out, and then they would exit the other way. So that's January 12th. I believe it's 12 to 2. It's going to be a little bit longer than a normal 1-hour plan, but it's going to be a good exercise where if anyone that wants to see what an emergency management exercise looks like, that would be a good one. And we also got our drainage proposal back from Banner's Associate, and I'd like to see, it looks like January 3rd is pretty tied up already, but I'd like to see if we could possibly have a drainage meeting on January 17th during the regular county commission meeting, just act as the drainage commission and review that plan. And what's the thoughts of the commission? We will get the plan out to the county commission. Anyone who want to see the plan, they're welcome to stop by my office, and we'll have a copy of it on the front desk. But it's extremely large. It's like a 50, 60 megabyte file, so it can't be emailed out and things like that. But the plan is in place, and I mean, it's a painful looking plan. Just from what I saw of it, it's going to be a tough decision to make when we do get to it.
Bob, if that document is that large, we could put that in box in the commission folder. So
It
that-
is in box already, yeah.
Perfect.
Yep.
That's great.
Yes, I just can't email it out.
Yep.
And it's
Nope, that's
extremely
great.
hard to put out other places. And that's all I have. Any questions? I'll be on the radio. I'll be leaving here at 9:15 or so to go over to the radio, but wish everyone a Merry Christmas.
Sounds great. Thanks, Bob. Brian, anything from Highway?
Just wanted to bring up a couple of things here. I know we've had a lot of ice lately. At another snowstorm here. But this previous storm, we had the temperatures that worked with us. And we had a few accidents. We did have one car hit one of our motor graders, and it was at an intersection. And I just want to stress on one thing with the frigid colds they're talking, with the temperatures they're talking. Our salt sand is only effective down to around -6. Our intersections are slick. People need to take their time, drive safe. We're doing what we can out there, but with that cold temperature, it's tough. And I just wanted to stress to everybody that we do our best to keep our intersections and curves and hills clean, obviously, but with the cold coming up, it's going to be a battle. And I just encourage people to drive safe and take their time, give themselves a few extra minutes, because it's gains you a lot in the end when you get to your destination and you aren't sitting alongside the road.
Anything else for Brian? Nope.
Thanks.
Thank you. Did we want to talk, Dave, any our sheriff's department? Okay.
Good morning.
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 Just touch on the population a little bit. But as of this morning, the numbers are pretty much the same. Got a few less females than we did the last time. Couple people on house arrest. I was asked by an out-of-county agency if we would help them participate in the Third Circuit GPS house monitoring, being as we have some GPS units on our shelf. It's a good, easy revenue for us, so we've got one of those out right now, and with the judges knowing that we can facilitate with Moody and Lake County with that, they'll start using that more as they go along with their sentencings. Give them some more options that way. Small construction update. They've got a couple things to fix with some ceilings and some sheetrocking and taping. One of those being one of our safe rooms. But with the weather and everything we've had the last couple weeks, they were short on getting up here, but hopefully now after the holidays they can get some of that taken care of. What we did run into since Hobo Days, with just one booking station down in our intake area, we've had some backlog different times when we had busy times over the weekends and stuff. So with with everything that we have available to us, I'm looking at getting a counter or two put in and another laptop or two so that we can help move the officers in and out quick enough on that and help those guys out. Working with Karen Weber from Brookings Health, Brookings Behavioral Health and Wellness, and Lieutenant Kuhn over at the police department for protective custody holds. I know our safe rooms that's what we planned those for. We kind of did, I guess, kind of a soft opening on it. We've had some instances where Karen would call and say, Dave, can you help us out? We have an individual that's intoxicated that is on a mental hold, but we can't provide services until they're sober. So we brought them down to the detention center, utilized keeping them in. We haven't been able to use our safe rooms yet, but our hold rooms down in intake area are the exact same rooms. And we've had about between 8 and 10 go through so far. It's been a learning process for us. Myself and with Karen and Lieutenant Kuhn, going to put together kind of a policy and procedure for that so that all the entities are aware that here's the parameters, here's what we're going to do. And Brookings Behavioral Health and Wellness has been a huge asset for us on that because it takes a lot of money and time for people to sit. If I need to call in correction officers to go up to the hospital at the ER and sit on an individual for 8 hours or so until they're sober versus bringing them to the detention center, having our staff that's on duty right now take care of them while they're there. Brookings Behavioral Health and Wellness can come right there, do the assessment. If anything needs to go from there, we can go from there. And it's helped BBH out quite a bit on that aspect too, and with the timings during the overnights and different things like that. So that's that's a work in progress. Juvenile holds. After many phone calls and emails and a site visit, I have been assigned a caseworker. He is John Knight. He is out of the Sioux Falls office with Department of Corrections, and he's a compliance monitor. We don't qualify for the co-located. We're close, and we're overqualified for the holdover. So we're going to meet in the middle and come up with what we can. And the only advantage to us would be the number of hours that we would be able to hold a juvenile, which anything from what we've got right now will help us out tremendously. And he's been real good to work with. Some of his supervisors that have all of the answers have been put on the committee with the DOC to work on their issues with the penitentiary and the land and the new facility that they're working on there. But he has promised me as of last week Friday that he will be back up and we'll get working on everything and get all that solidified so we can get everything put out.
Can you tell us why we didn't qualify for co-location?
Because we can't offer some of the services that they need. A shower unit in the juvenile hold room. We do have one in the intake area. It would not be specific for a juvenile. Could we make it available only to the juvenile with, means of doing that? Yes, we could, but it's one of the boxes that they need to check on that. Education services. There are things that can be done for that, but without having that an everyday thing set up with like the school district or a private entity that way. Those are the two main things, is what John said on that. But otherwise, everything's set up, everything's good. The two safe rooms that we talked about using up there, they love it. Great idea. And it's something they haven't seen in the other parts of the state, where nobody thinks that, dual, triple purpose a room and use it for juveniles. And they like that. And so we have a lot of possibilities for that up there. So looks good.
Thank you.
Anything else?
Very good.
Great. Thanks, Dave.
Thank you.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
I just would like to say while we're on this topic that for next year, if additional funding for, and I'm sorry, I can't remember the name of the alternative school at the high school.
Plains Academy.
Thank you.
Yep.
That I would think that would be an option for providing services that would be online for anybody that was being, juveniles that would be held. But that'll be another year's topic. Thank you.
Yep. Sounds great. Thank you. With that, we do have a scheduled 9 o'clock public hearing. We're about 30 seconds shy of 9 o'clock, but I think we'll introduce the topic. So our 9 a.m. public hearing and action to approve a petition for annexation by the city of Brookings, 219.37 acres in the northwest quarter and northeast quarter, section 13, township 110 north, range 50 west of the 5th prime meridian, Brookings County, South Dakota. I assume Ryan and Eric Witt are here to talk about that agenda item. So I might have you guys come forward just in case there are questions or comments to address on that one. And I'll just have you introduce yourself in the microphone so the listening public knows.
Good morning, Commissioners. My name is Ryan Miller. I'm the city planner for the city of Brookings. In December of this year, the Planning Commission did hold a public hearing for a annexation to a petition to annex 218 acres of land. The annexation petition was submitted by Brookings Municipal Utilities. This portion of land, it's just north of our current city limits, just north of the community gardens area, north of the bypass. The Planning Commission did recommend approval of the annexation unanimously. State statute does require that any unplatted land be approved by the county commissioners prior to city council approval. So in this case, the 218 acres is unplatted, so we are bringing it to the county commission for your review and approval, recommendation.
Sounds great. Thanks for the background, Ryan. With that, is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
All right, with the motion on the table, we'll open the public hearing for any comment. Are there any proponents of the motion on the table? Any proponents? Hearing none? Well, proponent, come on, Eric.
Thank you. Eric Witt, Water and Wastewater Manager for Brookings Utilities. As a city entity, we were looking to annex this 220 acres, approximately 220. It is adjacent to our north well field. We'll be adding 2 additional municipal wells there in the near future as part of our water system upgrade. And while not absolutely required to serve those with electric and communications, it's better to be in the city limits for those territorial utility laws. So that is our interest in annexing, and I'd ask for your consideration, answer any questions you might have.
Sounds great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Question.
Commissioner Bartley.
As we look at this particular piece of property that was purchased by the utilities, and we take annexation, you made a good comment there that I like. That was territorial rights to provide services in the future. Because this really does allow some other annexation of property out in that area once this is annexed, in particular to the north and to the east in particular, and possibly to the west, because you can annex across the road. So this looks like a very progressive way to move forward with the possibility of annexation, because you've already taken that step to make it easier, or will make it easier for development on those properties. And I assume that water rights, or providing water and sewer and other things up there, is going to be easier with annexation. Would that be a correct statement?
That's a complicated answer. So technically, yes, it would allow the ability for water and sewer to be extended in that direction, but the utility policies on water and sewer are a you come to us philosophy. So there's always the developer is responsible for extending through to that area. So there are still significant challenges on water and sewer services for municipal growth to the north. So that would have to be overcome. So yes, it does check a box as it closes a gap. That's not necessarily why we're bringing the request forward. It does take a step in that direction, but there's still a lot of financial implications for development up in that direction that would have to be overcome. So still remains a real challenging issue to get water and sewer in particular that far north.
Thank you.
And then you said that this is contiguous to 70 acres already. Is that the stuff in the southwest corner there?
It'll be the frontage right along the old 77, so where our north well field is. I don't know if I can control the mouse here or not.
Why don't you go back to the previous picture?
There we go.
Right there is the green outline?
Yep, where the green and the yellow overlap, right above the 2251 Maderi. That is where it's contiguous.
Yep. Any other questions for Eric? Great, thank you. Are there any other proponents of the motion on the table? Any opponents? If not, we'll close the public hearing. Any comments by the commission? Hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thanks, guys. We have a 9:05 scheduled as well. That one, item B, is an action to approve agreement number 22-102, an application for occupancy of right-of-way of county highways made by Brookings Biogas LLC. Is there a motion to approve?
Move.
Second.
Any discussion on this item? Come on forward and introduce yourself.
Morning. Ty Eschenbaum, A1 Development Solutions. We're Brookings and Sioux Falls-based firms that help, really as an owner's rep, site selection, permitting, working with townships, counties, road haul agreements, all that fun stuff for typically large ag and food and industrial projects. So a lot of dairies, hog barns, food production, GEVO over here in Kingsbury County would all be projects that we work on. This particular project is a biogas project, so a renewable natural gas project. So if you guys maybe are aware, the low carbon fuel standard out of California is driving a lot of our animal ag in South Dakota, primarily our large dairies, to put in anaerobic digesters to make renewable natural gas from the methane that comes off the manure and get paid to do so. And it's spurring tens of millions, hundreds of $1 million worth of CapEx growth in South Dakota, driven by these markets. And for the dairy, it's adding value to their manure at the same time as actually greatly reducing the odor because you are intentionally capturing as much gas that contains the odor as you possibly can. So we view them as great deals for our communities, and they're happening everywhere in the country, but especially in South Dakota. We've got a cluster that we've been working on down in Moody County that ties together some dairies between Flandreau and Sioux Falls. We've got one cluster going on up in Grant County, and we have one going on here in Brookings County that would tie together Northern Sky Dairy. The Hammock family has a couple dairies in northern Brookings County. And then this gas line would run up to Global Dairy, East to S line on Highway 28. And that's, there'll actually be in a point that's where the injection would happen into the local gas line, working with Northwestern Energy. So that's the 10,000 foot view, if you will. This application, we were just, wanting to follow your process. There's 2 county gravel roads that we would like to bore underneath from township right-of-way to township right-of-way. So we don't really plan to disturb your county right-of-way whatsoever. We just want to bore underneath of it. And that's been our approach with township roads as well as with farmers when we're crossing their approaches and whatnot, that if you want us to bore it, we'll bore it. And if you're open to us digging through it and putting it back, and then you want a nice new gravel top or something, we can work that out as well. But this is the request for you guys today.
Great, thank you. Any questions by the commissioners?
I guess, Brian, do you have concerns? I know it's county gravels, but with either method?
I would prefer a bore.
That's what the request is for a bore, right?
Yep.
With the bore, are these also slaved underneath the road then also?
I could not answer that. I think they're done to whatever standard is required from whether that's state, federal, safety. I could not tell you the method exactly of what they do to sleeve them.
Any other comments or questions?
I have a comment. and
Yeah, go ahead.
I'm not opposed to this request, but this is my last chance to say this. I really, this is another example of how we should be keeping some kind of inventory about what's going on underground on our right-of-ways. And when we look at the windstorm in May, we're just going to see more and more in the future our utilities and all kinds of activities underground. When you look at ice, wind, tornadoes, whatever, we want to keep people having power and the ability to continue with their lives when we're having these FEMA events. We need to know what's underground. And I would just encourage future commissioners to look at that.
So is that an easy process for that to be added to our GIS information? Don't know. We can ask.
There are a lot of right-of-way agreements in our history. So yeah, easy? No. Is it doable? I don't know.
I think at the very least from here going forward, it makes an awful lot of sense. And then retroactively starting to think backwards was not a bad idea. Yeah. Any other comments or questions? All right. Hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah. All right. We will move backwards in time to item 7C, Finance Officer's Report.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Okay, new plates are coming out January 3rd. Hold your excitement because they don't look very different, just little color differentiation. And they are not starting with number 1. So in previous years, we've always had people waiting outside the office on the first day. Don't have to do that because it's not going to be any fun numbers. So I wanted to show you those. There is a paper shortage in Pier for paperwork for titles. So I wanted to make sure everybody knows Pier depleted their paper stock and they cannot get any more until the end of January at the soonest. And so people coming in and getting new titles for vehicles aren't getting them. If there is a special circumstance, you're selling the vehicle, moving out of state, something like that, we can help you apply for an emergency title. And I believe I had Michelle put that on our Facebook page and our website too. So the applications, where to get them. So. Election update, there was a meeting in Pier with the new Secretary of State, Monet Johnson, that Jenna and I were going to attend. We did not due to the weather. However, I did get that recording, and there were mixed reviews on that, so we'll see what happens in the future. But the county auditors have agreed that we need to work more with state legislators and representatives to keep them aware of what's happening with the election process, so that when these bills come forward, they have a little background knowledge on it. So delinquent tax listing, that hit the papers and was just well received by the public. We had our tax sale yesterday, and we had 2 companies that each had 2 representatives there. So our number was down dramatically from previous years for investors. What I had heard from them were that they were going to other states with higher rates because of the economy. So we did sell everything but, I would say, 8 properties, and the dollar amount is under $1,000 that we have unpaid. So we're sitting really, really good with our paid taxes. And I do want to point out for property owners that have delinquent taxes to take it really seriously, because if you have 3 years unpaid, those investors can begin proceedings to take your property, and it does happen. It happened last year in our county. So be sure and try to get your taxes paid up. Let's see. I did give to the commission some general tax information. I also shared it with Commissioner-elect Vanderwall and Commissioner-elect Hostler. It is on our Facebook page and website. Information, the process from the equalization office to the finance office, and also it had in there some information on tax relief programs, different ones that are available. So I thought I'd put that out there. Let's see, the only other thing would be, I mentioned earlier that I wanted to look at the election agreement that we have, whether or not we want some kind of fee for the use of poll pads and the tabulator, those kind of things. There was a request from Bonnie at the city is going to meet with Jenna and I tomorrow and just kind of go over the election process and everything. And I'll probably be bringing you any ideas that come from that meeting. So there's that happening. Otherwise, thanks to Commissioner Boersma and Commissioner Pierce for their guidance and their work on the commission.
Thank you. Any questions for Lori? Commissioner Pierce?
Just for the listening public, if they want to check if they have an issue with delinquent taxes, are those posted on the county website? Where do they go to look? For that?
Delinquent taxes, call our office.
Call the office?
Yep, yep.
Great. Thank you. We have several be it noted items for the minutes. The first is the auditor's account with the treasurer total, highway expenditure report, the register of deeds statement of fees collected. So there's that. We will move on to item 9A in regular business. Action to approve resolution number 22-59, a plat of lot 1 of Finnegan's Addition in the east 989.3 feet of the southwest quarter of section 36, township 110 north, range 51 west of the 5th prime meridian, Brookings County, South Dakota. Is there a motion to approve?
So move.
Second.
Any discussion on this one? It was recommended unanimously, Richard?
Yes.
Great. Any other comments? Hearing none, call the roll, please.
Jensen,
Aye.
Krogman,
Aye.
Pierce,
Aye.
Bartley,
Aye.
Boersma,
Aye.
motion carries.
Item 9B, action to approve resolution number 22-60, a plat of Lockwoods Conservation Easement Tract 1 in the southeast quarter of section 11, township 111 north, range 51 west of the 5th prime meridian, Brookings County, South Dakota. Is there a motion to approve?
Move approval.
Second.
Any comments on this one? Also came with unanimous recommendation?
I believe all of these did,
Great. Thank you.
looking back through.
Yes, they did.
Any other comments? Hearing none, call the roll, please.
Krogman,
Aye.
Pierce,
Aye.
Bartley,
Aye.
Jensen,
Aye.
Boersma,
Aye.
motion carries.
Item C, action to approve resolution number 22-61, a plat of lots 1, 2, 3, and 4 of CKS Partners Second Edition and 34th Avenue right-of-way, all in the southwest quarter of section 29, township 110 north, range 49 west of the 5th prime meridian, Brookings County, South Dakota. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Any comments? Hearing none, call the roll, please.
Pierce,
Aye.
Bartley,
Aye.
Jensen,
Aye.
Krogman,
Aye.
Boersma,
Aye.
motion carries.
Item D, action to approve resolution number 22-62, a plat of lot 2, Wellfield Addition in the southeast quarter of section 21, township 110 north, range 51 west of the 5th prime meridian, Brookings County, South Dakota. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
approval. Second.
Any comments on this one? Hearing none, call the roll, please.
Bartley,
Aye.
Jensen,
Aye.
Krogman,
Aye.
Pierce,
Aye.
Boersma,
Aye.
motion carries.
Item E, action to approve resolution number 22-63, a plat of lots 1A, 2A, 3A, 4A, 5A, 6A, and 14A of the North Grove Addition in the southeast quarter of section 11, township 111 north, range 50 west of the 5th prime meridian, Brookings County, South Dakota. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Any comments? Hearing none, call the roll, please.
Jensen,
Aye.
Krogman,
Aye.
Pierce,
Abstain.
Bartley,
Aye.
Boersma,
Aye.
motion carries.
Item F, action to approve resolution number 22-64, a plat of block 1, Hartman Addition in the northeast quarter of section 23, township 112 north, range 50 west of the 5th prime meridian, Brookings County, South Dakota. Is there a motion to approve?
So move.
Second.
Any comments on this one? Hearing none, call the roll, please.
Krogman,
Aye.
Pierce,
Aye.
Bartley,
Aye.
Jensen,
Aye.
Boersma,
Aye.
motion carries.
Item G, action to approve resolution number 22-65, a plat of lot 1 of Knowles Addition in Government Lot 3 in the southeast quarter of the northeast quarter of section 18, township 112 north, range 47 west of the 5th prime meridian, Brookings County, South Dakota. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Any comments on this one? Hearing none, call the roll, please.
Pierce,
Aye.
Bartley,
Aye.
Jensen,
Aye.
Krogman,
Aye.
Boersma,
Aye.
motion carries.
Item H, action to approve resolution number 22-66, a bridge improvement grant program resolution authorizing submission of applications. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Brian, any comments or clarification on this one?
I didn't have time to get a map, but if you guys recall, we posted these two structures, the top two, or will be posting them here at the beginning of the year, on the 478th north of Bushnell. And then the third one there, we had previously applied for a federal grant and we did not receive. And looking at the scores, and now with the opening up of the cap, I feel like we got a pretty good chance at hopefully 2 for sure. We're hoping 3, obviously, but I don't know what's going to come as far as what the score is going to be, but posting them does give us a few extra points where the top 2 score that 51 and the bottom one, or the bottom one scores a 44. Last year the threshold was about 47, so we're hoping that we can qualify on these, and this would be a 20% match on these.
We put more match down. How many points does that give us?
We don't feel that at this point in time it would be necessary. It wouldn't gain us a whole lot as far as points until we get to that like 50 to 60% match.
But now, what are we looking at? Idea of the cost of these bridges, because the less we pay for, not saying we want to pay, but counts against us for the number of bridges that we go after too.
Right.
And I'm just trying to think. Last time we maxed out the $4 million that we got.
But I also want to remind you that these structures that we're replacing are quite significantly less square footage than the ones we had been replacing. So you're not going to be looking at the dollar amounts.
What, $500,000, $700,000?
We're probably looking at the top one, or the middle one there is going to be the longest of these 3 structures. You're looking at 200 feet, where before we were up into that, just ticking on that 300-foot mark.
It's going to push $1 million still, probably.
Right, so you're probably looking at $1.5 million for that middle one. The other 2 is probably going to be just shy of $1 million.
Other questions for Brian? All right, thanks, Brian. Hearing no further comments, call the roll, please.
Bartley?
Aye.
Jensen?
Aye.
Krogman?
Aye.
Pierce?
Aye.
Boersma?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Item I, action to approve resolution number 22-67, a resolution setting the official pay plan for 2023. Is there a motion to approve?
So move.
Second.
Discussion on this.
This sets out the number of FTEs and the grades for each department for all of the positions that they would be, basically what they have now would be approved then for 2023. Anything outside this pay plan would be considered a new position and obviously would come to the board for approval as a new position, but this just lays out our plan for 2023.
Any questions for Stacy?
Stacy, how did our FTE number change from last year's pay plan? Do you know that?
I need to do that. I did not do that spreadsheet again. Where we did see an increase the most was the sheriff's office and jail because of the new jail coming online. I mean, we reduced some part-time staff, but we increased full-time staff there. Otherwise, everything else pretty much remained pretty steady, but that's where we saw an increase. But I think the last time that I looked at that overall, it was just maybe a 3 or 4 FTE increase, if I recall that right. But I can run those numbers and get that out to you too. So,
Any other questions? Hearing none. Call the roll, please.
Jensen?
Aye.
Krogman?
Aye.
Pierce?
Aye.
Bartley?
Aye.
Boersma?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Item J, action to approve resolution number 22-68, the FY 2022 contingency transfers and approval of cash transfer from general fund to the 402 jail expansion debt relief fund. Is there a motion to approve?
So move. Second.
Any discussion on this item?
we were pretty fortunate with contingency transfers. The top one, the election, the $75,000, that was for the e-poll pads. HR, professional services, we just exponentially had a lot of positions and advertising for those positions, as well as some assistance from our labor attorney with union contracts, so that's what put that line over for the year. Sheriff's Office, uniforms and equipment, again, more folks, more need for that. There was some an offsetting grant that you'll see here coming up as an auto sup for that line as well. Fuel and gasoline, obviously, fuel prices this year couldn't really account for that. We had visited about repairs and maintenance of a vehicle, and then the chemical. We've been visiting with that throughout the year and keeping an eye on that. And then this last one is an interest payment in a couple things in the jail expansion debt service, just unanticipated costs there. That's also the amount, that $9,500 is the amount for the cash transfer, because we'll have to move that money from the general fund over to that 402 fund. So total contingency transfers, $136,350.
Any questions?
What did that leave the balance in contingency?
It was, I think we started with 675,000, so we're still about we have about 500, I think, after this, give or take, so. And all of that, whatever, goes unspent, rolls into general fund balance, so.
Any other questions on the contingency transfers? Hearing none, call the roll, please.
Krogman?
Aye.
Pierce?
Aye.
Bartley?
Aye.
Jensen?
Aye.
Boersma?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Item K, action to approve agreement number 22-104, a State of South Dakota Department of Transportation Joint Powers and Funding Agreement for Emergency Relief. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Do we know who has comments on this one? Brian? Was this a conversation with you and Bob by chance? With that DOT Joint Powers Emergency Funding and Relief?
Oh, this is the Highway 80, yeah, this is the
County Road
Highway
10
81,
there.
yeah.
This is County Road 10.
That's the grade change on
yeah,
80,
it's a grade change.
by 81?
I
Yep.
apologize.
Yep, because I wasn't sure if that Joint Powers agreement was specific to the highway project or if it was specific to the flooding event, or if there was any correlation between those two as it came about, but it's strictly DOT related?
Correct.
Okay, great. And we talked about this one on our highway tour. So any questions on that one? Hearing none, call the roll, please.
Pierce?
Aye.
Bartley?
Aye.
Jensen?
Aye.
Krogman?
Aye.
Boersma?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Item L, action to approve agreement number 22-105, a small enterprise agreement, county and municipal government between Brookings County and Esri, Inc. Is there a motion to approve?
Move approval.
Second.
Any questions on this one? This is for our Esri software stuff.
Correct, this is the agreement that the county signs the agreement with Esri. We're kind of the holder of the contract. This is an agreement that we have with the city and BMU for the GIS software. So this is another 3-year contract. We're kind of the holder of the contract. And then the next agreement you'll see coming up is the agreement that we share the cost amongst the 3 entities.
Any questions? Hearing none, call the roll, please.
Bartley?
Aye.
Jensen?
Aye.
Krogman?
Aye.
Pierce?
Aye.
Boersma?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Item M, action to approve agreement number 22-106, an enterprise cost share agreement between Brookings County, the City of Brookings, and Brookings Municipal Utilities. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Any comments? Hearing none, call the roll, please.
Jensen?
Aye.
Krogman?
Aye.
Pierce?
Aye.
Bartley?
Aye.
Boersma?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Item N is action to approve a retail on-sale liquor license for Smokin's Pub and Grub for January 1, 2023 through December 31, 2023. It's my understanding that this item will be tabled?
No.
Okay.
It will not, no, but
Okay.
the applicant is not able to attend.
Okay. So with that, is there a motion to approve? agenda item dies for lack of a motion. Moving on. Item O, action to approve change order number 016 for the Brookings County Detention Center expansion and remodel project. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Any comments on this one?
This change order just gives our remaining contingency back to us, basically. $807 is what we had left in our contingency, so.
Big spenders.
We are. The final bills have been paid on this now to both architect as BKV as well as Henry Carlson. We're all paid earlier this morning, so we are really very nearing the end of this project.
So close.
That's just about enough for a party at the end.
Any other comments on this item? Hearing none, call the roll, please.
Krogman?
Aye.
Pierce?
Aye.
Bartley?
Aye.
Jensen?
Aye.
Boersma?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Item P, action to automatically supplement for unanticipated expenses incurred and reimbursement made to Brookings County for reimbursement for overpayment, receipt number 00622-185 in the amount of $1,250 to General Ledger line 248-4-212-4260. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Comments on this one?
This was reimbursement for a duplicate invoice was accidentally paid, so the company preferred to pay us back, so we're just putting that money back in that line.
Sounds great. Commissioner Pierce.
Just a question about our internal controls and how that could happen.
That was a claim came from the sheriff's office for 24/7 supplies. I think it was, I honestly, I don't know what the error was. None of that crossed my desk. I just knew that that's what it was for.
Lori, do you know anything? I would just think we'd want to take a look at that and just make sure that we have our ducks in a row for that type of activity. And I know we process lots of invoices.
And I think it's one of those, I think this is a recurring claim, is my understanding, that it gets that same amount gets billed every single month. And so I think maybe because of maybe a lack of, or a length of time where we had like a 3-week time where we didn't approve claims, it got in there twice or something, or not this, they maybe billed twice because they hadn't yet received their payment. So I think maybe that had something to do with it, but my understanding is that it's a recurring monthly bill, and I think we just got maybe a month ahead. So.
Anything further on item P? If not, call the roll, please.
Pierce?
Aye.
Bartley?
Aye.
Jensen?
Aye.
Krogman?
Aye.
Boersma?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Item Q, action to automatically supplement for unanticipated expenses incurred and reimbursement made to Brookings County for reimbursement for grant receipt number 00587-015 in the amount of $3,309.74 to General Ledger line 101-4-211-4262. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Any discussion on this one?
This is a Homeland Security grant reimbursement. Sheriff Stanwyck submitted this. I believe this is one of, that amount went back into that uniform and equipment line too, to help to relieve some of those costs that we also saw in contingency.
Great. Any further questions or comments? Hearing none, call the roll, please.
Bartley?
Aye.
Jensen?
Aye.
Krogman?
Aye.
Pierce?
Aye.
Boersma?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Item R, action to automatically supplement for unanticipated expenses incurred and reimbursement made to Brookings County for reimbursement for salaries. Receipt number 00604-130 in the amount of $531,500 to General Ledger lines for salaries. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion?
This is using ARPA funds that we received in 2022 to supplement the salary line for those expenses that we had due to the increase that we gave on July 1st, as well as some additional overtime and expenses that we incurred in specifically in the sheriff and the jail, those departments as well. Using those dollars brings down, I had printed that off this morning or yesterday late because we were keeping track of our commission projects line. We're still about 2.1 that's unspoken for yet. So just so you wanted to give you a total there, I think I had estimated about 400,000 for this, so it came in a little bit higher than what I was anticipating as we started going through this process. But this, using this helped keep that contingency down too. So that's why you see it this way. It's an automatic supplement. It's a little bit different because I had many general ledger lines that I had to account for. So this was probably the easiest way for me to do it. So
Great. Any additional comments or questions? Hearing none, call the roll, please.
Jensen,
Aye.
Krogman,
Aye.
Pierce,
Aye.
Bartley, Boersma.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Item S, action to automatically supplement for unanticipated expenses incurred and reimbursement made to Brookings County for reimbursement for overpayment receipt number to be determined in the amount of $12,431.25 to general ledger line 101-4-712-4290. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Any comments?
there was the first quarter for First District, first quarter FY23 was accidentally paid out of this current year's budget. And so First District is getting us a check back, and we need to automatically supplement that back into their line so that we're not using contingency to fund something that we've budgeted for in FY23. So what we're basically going to do is auto-sup this back in. That budget line's going to be fine, and then we'll repay them that right away here in January of 23. The reason the receipt is to be determined is that due to the storm, First District was not in the office, and the check is in the mail. So we want the commission to take action on this so that when we get the check, we know the receipt number, we can go ahead and do what we need to do to do the automatic supplement. But we need the commission to approve that, and I didn't think you'd want to meet the last week of January to do this, waiting on a check to come. I'm assuming it's probably going to show up in the mail today. I think it got mailed like Thursday, Friday last week, so.
And Stacy, when we talked about this was the one that you mentioned they sent the invoice, but the date just got screwed up or something.
Yeah, I think it did. They just sent the claim very, very early. Their fiscal year, First District's fiscal year starts October 1. So I think they sent their first claim for FY23 in October, November, and our new fiscal year doesn't start till January. So there was just some confusion there, but this will take care of it.
Any other questions? Hearing none, call the roll, please.
Krogman?
Aye.
Pierce?
Aye.
Bartley?
Aye.
Jensen?
Aye.
Boersma?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Item T, action to transfer cash from budget line 101-4-221-4291 in the amount of $97,889.02 to Fund 759, the Brookings County Fire Trust Fund. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Any comments?
This is the amount, as you can see up on the screen, the amount remaining in that budget line, and every year we transfer that amount over to their long-term fund, and they keep track of that for their long-term ongoing expenses, them being the fire departments throughout the county.
Sounds great. Any other comments or questions? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Item U, action to approve the following general fund transfers per budget appropriations for the fourth quarter of 2022. We have from General Fund 101-4-911-4294 to Highway and Bridge Fund 201-3-371-0000 in the amount of $419,988.50. Excuse me. Are we acting on these separately or together?
You can act on them together. Okay, it's fine.
And number 2, from General Fund 101-4-911 4290 to Emergency Management Fund 226-3-371-0000 in the amount of $38,112.50. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second?
Any comments? Hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Same sign. Motion carries. Item V, discussion and possible action to approve fund balance assignments. I think we want to discuss first.
In my staff report, I provided some information. There's just some assignment amounts to get us, we have to be below that 40% at year end. $6 million gets us to 39%. I don't think that's quite where we want to be. I think probably between that $7 and $8 million would get us between, 33 to 27%. In the packet, there were, let's see if I can find. So here is what we have already assigned within, this is the general fund. Highway projects, 614-101, future economic development highway projects, 4.25 million. Samara Avenue, 500,000. Beta, 200,000. That's for the potential purchase of the Beta garage out there, if they were to move off site at some point. Courthouse security, 300,000. 214th Street, 1 million, and then a new highway shop, 4 million. We do have some other fund balance assignments in other funds, the 201 fund, 776 for the Country Club Bridge, and then in the 301, the County Building Fund, we have a couple smaller, the Beta Bus Garage, we have 200 there as well, so 400,000 total, and $20,000 for the 1921 parking lot. If you recall, that would be kind of resurfacing and doing some fixes on that next year. But specifically for this, we are talking about the general fund because that is where we have to be below that 40% surplus at year end. So, these are the projects that I know the commission has talked about. I was trying to think of some other things that we've talked about through the year, and nothing really popped to the forefront other than these projects that I know that we've been discussing. So, I would suggest between 7 and 8 million of assignments to get us down there. Keep in mind too, we can do some assignments. It's simple motion of the board to unassign. The beginning of the year, after the calendar flips over, we'll have to be doing some supplemental budgets for the commission projects line, for instance. We'll have to do that there. So that would, I think that would help bring that down too after the first of the year, but we'll be looking at doing some things there. But for today, I think between 7 and 8 million is what you're going to look at to assign for some of these other things. Whether you want to increase some of these dollar amounts that are in there, or if you have something else that you can think of that we would like to assign within the general fund.
Any specific items? I know one of the things we've talked about was that 200,000 probably wasn't adequate for what we need for Beta. Do we want to?
We've got 4, don't we?
We have 4 because there's 200 in general fund, and there's 200,000 in the 301
gotcha.
301 fund.
Never
Yeah,
mind.
yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay.
Has the appraisal come back?
Haven't even done anything yet.
Gotcha. Okay.
So we are still waiting for the state feds.
We've had as far as the highway shop is concerned, we've had a pretty high level discussion about that.
Yeah.
What do we want and how do we want to do it? And with Bob's recommendation today that, I don't know if we can do anything in a short term, 18 months, I don't think that's going to happen, but 4 million is a drop in the bucket of what we're going to need for that. If it's possible to assign more to that now, and I don't know what we would do with funds from FEMA that we would then not get if we don't do it in 18 months, if there's a smaller project we could do. with that particular type of money to tide us over until we get a highway shop approved and built.
I mean, right now, the way it's assigned, that highway shop does not specify that it has to be the Bruce Highway Shop or the Brookings Highway Shop or any of that. So, I mean, it could all go into that pot of money, I would think.
Well, the other thing too is, I don't know if we're doing a project, 214th potentially.
Yep.
And so we're starting the process of we have on the agenda here, another thing here. So I think it'd be prudent to start putting away some money for that. I'm not in favor, and I've said this from the beginning, that the county should have to pay for that whole thing, because that's just going to be really, really expensive. But I do think it shows our good faith if we were able to secure a federal grant or a state grant, that we've already assigned some money, put it away, whether we just want to put $1 million there for that, and maybe do 4 for the highway shop or something. Still leaves a little bit if somebody else has any ideas of some other stuff. But again, I think that helps other people see that we're planning for it, and that if it comes to fruition, we can spend the money.
And Mike and Brian, you guys have discussed the overall size requirements for the new highway shop. Do we know roughly how many square feet we're anticipating in our vague?
I don't think we've gotten down to any square footage. We decided we should probably take a look at some additional shops around the area, communities our size, possibly even larger as we're still growing, and try and come up with a square footage. Not only that, is the site appropriate where we're at? Is it
Right.
Something we need to consideration for the beta building? Is it going to come our way? Is it going to be 1 year, 2 years, or not going to happen? There's a lot of things up in the air there that are going to affect how we move forward on that. But we haven't had a general discussion, a work session, so to speak, on that. But I think that's appropriate here after the first year to start that process, because that's something we know we're going to move ahead on, I assume. The 214th, I assume we'll move ahead at some point in time. That could take us a couple of years to get any approval from the feds on that.
Yep.
So with money available, I don't know where that's at. I know there's infrastructure money out there, but I don't know if this qualifies for it. And there's DOT money out there, and I'm not sure the state has made any determination how they're going to spread the wealth there. They get to decide that, we don't. So I think we need to bring that 10,000-foot discussion down to 5,000 and decide. Brian, would you agree?
Do we know what the square footage of our current shop is, approximately? Okay. I'm just thinking that based on what we know of other counties with a similar amount of highway miles to cover, and potentially a similar number of staff members to cover them, several of those counties spent between $8 and $10 million and in excess of that to do a highway shop. So I think Commissioner Krogman's recommendation to assign another $4 million to a highway shop is probably prudent at a minimum.
Commissioner Barty brought up site being available to expand also. It might be that we'd have to build 2 buildings out at the highway shop to accommodate what Brian needs also, to make it fit with what we also have that's valuable out there. So.
Yep.
So Stacy, are you suggesting that 6 million's not enough because we're at 39%, and that we should be looking
Correct.
at maybe 7 million for assignments? Am I understanding that
Yeah,
right?
I think so.
And I would support $4 million for the highway shop. And I think we could do better on 214th than 1 million, knowing that we got those numbers. My concern about putting more aside for beta is when we assign, we kind of telegraph that that's what we're willing to do. And 400,000 is a lot for what we're looking at. Have we heard anything from Volga on Samira Avenue?
We have a meeting
A
later
meeting
this week.
we have a meeting tomorrow afternoon on Samara.
I think based on the preliminary engineering and estimates for that project, it's not going to be an inexpensive project. We're looking at several $1 million most likely. And we jointly, collectively received a $450,000 grant from the state for a portion of those improvements. But that certainly doesn't cover anywhere near what's going to be necessary to do that project in its entirety. So I think we'll have further discussion about that tomorrow. But whether that gets assigned as future economic development highway projects so that it's not specific to Samara Avenue necessarily, that allows us to kind of have that conversation with the city of Olga and kind of figure out where we're sitting with engineers and make decisions that way. I believe there is a timeline for when that grant needs to be spent. And so that's one of the things that we want to certainly look at. I don't think it just sits out there indefinitely.
So if we looked at 4 million for highway shop, 2 million for 214th, and $1 million for future economic development, that would, the math would work.
And just to clarify on the beta, the reason there's 400,000 is the last appraisal they did have on that building that they did themselves for their grants and stuff came in right at that 400,000. So anticipating it's not going to go down. So it's gone up. So we're gonna. I think 400,000 is right there. And I'm guessing we're gonna probably have to come up with a little bit more to purchase this out. And that's how we have to purchase it is by appraisal, because those funds are very restrictive that beta gets. And so again, I think 400,000 is probably adequate now, but it's not going to probably be enough. But I think that's the number there. But I agree. I like those numbers, and I like where they're going.
So to recap the numbers in a brief summary.
4 for the highway shop, 2 for 214th,
okay,
and 1 for future economic development.
Okay.
We have a total of 3 to 214th Street, though, right? We already have 1 in there.
Exactly.
It would,
2 more.
2 more.
2 more.
2 more, yeah. So it would be 3 million total for 214th. We'd have 8 million for the highway shop, and we would have 5.25 million for future economic development highway projects.
Right. Our goal is not to have to assess or change our levy to complete these projects. So making sure that we're doing the appropriate job of saving in advance for them is the goal.
And if we needed additional monies for beta, we could unassign from economic development.
Yep.
So total for highway was what then when we're done?
We'll have 8
8.
assigned for the highway shop in total.
Maybe 2/3 paid for. Half.
It's not getting any cheaper to build. The $12 million precast one was, I don't know, 4 years ago already. So that $12 million is now 16 or 17 or 18 million. So, all right. With that, do
We need
wanna,
that in the form of a motion.
Yep, do we want that in a motion?
Those numbers, okay with everybody?
Yes.
I'd make that motion.
I'll second.
Any further comments or discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Item W, action to approve a request to fill vacancy for 2 deputy sheriff positions. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Any comments on this one?
These are both due to recent resignations.
Yep. All right. If there's no further comments, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Item X, discussion and possible action on a letter of support for the proposed Minnehaha County Juvenile Justice Center. So there are a handful of documents, and then I think most of you saw the email from Cindy Heiberger from Minnehaha County maybe yesterday. I had a conversation with her.
Yeah, I did pass out a letter from
Yep.
Cindy that was in front of you this morning on
Yep.
your desks as well.
I had a conversation with her after our last meeting about what exactly it was that they were looking for in terms of a letter of support. And she indicated that what they're hoping for is the support of the idea to move to bed day charges. So a per diem rate, essentially. Not that we would pay a flat fee based on our rolling average, but that we support them moving to a cost per day, not this cost per day. They're estimating this cost per day based on no participation from the state. Just the idea that we move away from the current joint powers agreement and 2, the idea of a per diem for use of a bed. So that's what they're hoping for our support on.
Based on the letter, the email she sent, why would we do that now? Is she still asking for that? Because
Her letter does indicate that they are still asking for that because in order to gather support for the cost basis for the entire thing, it changes the way they do the pro forma for how they put together the request for financing. So if you don't understand how many beds you plan to have filled and you aren't assuming that you have a flat fee being paid by every county, you have to figure out your day rate based on assumed occupancy. And so in order to move in the direction of figuring out total costs, cost to finance, what they would have to finance versus what they're asking for from the state, those types of things, they have to at least move in the direction of deciding we're going to charge on a day-by-day basis for use of a juvenile bed in this facility. So that's what they're hoping for.
This is not a lot different than what they did as far as their jail was concerned.
Right. This is not different from what we do with our jail. I mean, everybody establishes a rate for use of a bed, and they have not because of the way that JDC functions. And so their goal is to move to that kind of more similar structure for how they bill for days in a bed.
My question basically is, this letter of support is for them to move forward with this bond and determining what that rate is and waiting to see if the legislature is going to kick anything in as far as building the center is concerned. But does that prevent us from making any agreements with other juvenile detention facilities, such as Watertown's opened up a new one up there? Can we still bail and go that direction if it's more competitive for us?
The contract that we're in with them now, the per diem, is a 30-day notification to terminate the contract.
Right.
So you can still do that at any time.
Yep.
Okay, because I think it'd be judicious to look at Watertown's new facility and see if it's better for us to support that facility than Minnehaha. They may be able to fill their own facility with their own clientele, so to speak.
And I think the goal is not to commit anyone to a certain number of days or to contract into that situation. I think they're just finding that the way that their current joint powers agreement would charge the 14 counties that participate is probably not fair. So
here's what my thoughts are. I understand that what they want to do is what we do with our jail, and I understand why they would want to do that. And that's certainly in their best interest. Is that in our best interest, in Brookings County's best interest? Maybe the current way we do it is more economically feasible for us. We don't know because we don't have enough information. That's my concern with saying, yeah, flip over to a per day rate and we'll be fine with that. But then we have nothing to do with that, how that rate is set.
They
No,
would
but you-
have to submit a new contract
Yeah.
to us.
And-
Right.
Because right now, we have the per diem contract. They would have to bring an entirely new contract in front of us. So if we're not comfortable with that contract, then the commission doesn't
says
move
no.
forward with that.
But maybe what we want is the current type of determination as opposed to the daily rate. That's what I'm saying. We don't have enough information to decide that, in my opinion. And when we set our rate for our jail, we just say, this is what we're going to charge. If you don't like it, don't come. And that is fine, and that works out because counties have other places they can put people in the best of all worlds. We only got one juvenile detention center and we're hoping Coddington's going to have something, or maybe Beetle or whatever, but we just got one place, and do we want to be tied down to that per diem? I'm not sure that that's in Brookings County's best interest. I get why Minnehaha County wants to do that.
I think this letter is more for them as a preparation to go to the legislature and say, look, we are a regional juvenile justice center, and it would make sense for state dollars to be invested in this. And we have letters from all 16 counties that work with us, or how many counties that we have,
14.
saying, you know what, we're willing to work on this. I don't think it ties us to that. I don't feel like it does. I think it's more of, are we willing to support this and that? And I think I am. We need this center. We need it larger. We need it bigger. We need the rooms. So my thought is we go ahead and arm them with this letter. So when they go to the legislature, and I think it's also up to us too, that if we have our legislative representatives out there, that we talk to them and say, look, this is a good thing. We're going to figure out how we're going to pay for it. But, you know, if we can get some pretty good state help, you know, maybe that per bed rate isn't the way to go. Maybe it goes back to the other way. But I don't think that they're wanting us to do the per bed, that we say yes. I say we're supportive of the building of the facility, and maybe not necessarily say we're supportive of the per bed rate, in my opinion.
And I don't know that we're committing to the rate that they set out in that previous conversation, because that $400 to $450 per day may change if they've got a significant amount of state support to build the facility and they're financing less of it. And so I think that's the other piece of it that is very much up in the air. Being supportive of the idea of a daily bed rate is not the same as being supportive of $450 a day as their daily rate.
Did I just hear you say, though, Ryan, what you would support is a letter that says we support them having a new facility, but not say anything about the rate?
Right.
I could get behind that.
That's where my thought would be is, look, you know, like I said, we really, they need a new facility, and we're willing to continue to look into it, use it, and stuff like that. We support it, but we just don't talk about the per bed or there, because, you know, that's just way too far out. We don't know what the numbers are going to be. We don't know what they're going to charge, and that's a decision we'll have to make when we get closer. So that's where I would kind of go.
Should our letter be to that effect, that we support the facility, we support them exploring it, all of those things? But until more clarity is known on the final design and funding structures, we're not prepared to voice support in one way or another based on how things are charged for.
Yep.
But whatever method of, currently now we're paying by.
We're paying by our rolling average of the last 5 years. And to Dan's point in previous meetings, we haven't had juveniles down there, so we're still paying even though there's nobody down there. And so that's also, as you start moving towards more diversion programs and JDAI and those types of things, the likelihood that people end up in juvenile detention centers goes down.
And the other thing is that when the time comes, because there will eventually be a new center, because it's not going to meet the regulations to stay where they're at. So the county, by not taking a position right now on that, will be able to negotiate having a place at the table to help set that daily rate if that's the way it's going to go. And we don't really have any opportunity for saying that and what we're doing. We just need to wait. It's too soon. But I could support what Brian's suggesting.
Is the JDC board that we have a seat on the entity that would be able to set that rate?
I think you'd have to have a meeting.
Okay. Well, that's fair.
Just a clarification question in the first sentence. She says, be in the best interest of all partners to wait to vote on a bond resolution for the proposed juvenile justice center. We wouldn't be involved with any bond issue. That's strictly Minnehaha County.
Correct.
Okay, so at some point in time, they're going to have to say of the participating counties, what is your commitment? Obviously, we have a commitment now. What's our commitment going to be? Even if you go to the legislature and ask for them to support this particular issue, they're going to look at the supporting letter and say, but what kind of money are you going to put forward, so that we could determine what we should add to the pie. I don't know what we paid in the last 5 years as a rolling average yearly for juvenile detention. What's been our expense? Do we know?
110 something.
Is there an average?
We had 2 high years in there.
Yeah, I understand that. But,
Here.
at some point, somebody's going to ask us, what are you willing to pay?
120.
So we can use that number to put our bond issue forth, or to put our proposal before the legislature. The legislature is going to ask you, of your 14 counties, what's the commitment?
I think Minnehaha County's goal is not to bond based on anybody else's financial commitment,
Okay.
but to understand that they would prefer to have some version of preference contract that we'll send our juveniles there. But we're not there yet because I don't know that they know what their final design solution is or what kind of population to expect.
Okay.
So in the future, it might be fair just per person. That's the rate, no matter what county, what your averages are.
We're somewhere around 122,000 a year
Yes.
right now.
Yep.
And do we know how many bad days we had in there? It looks like 52, 38. Oh, that's Brookings.
Yeah, that spreadsheet
That is
shows
ours.
our bed days used over the last 5 years.
It's really declined, hasn't it?
Yes.
Thank you, Dan.
You know, it's likely to stay consistent to those 2020 and 2021 numbers for a whole host of reasons. Much of what I've already talked about in previous commission meetings. The 2018 number, you know, that was a situation that possibly could have been resolved sooner, but instead a juvenile, you know, sat down there for 6 months, you know, and then 2019 we had that juvenile in on a homicide charge, you know, but in the previous history of Brookings County, I don't know that we have ever had a juvenile charged with homicide. So that was kind of an anomaly in and of itself there too. So, you know, 2017, you know, that's pretty high too. But again, I just think with some of the decisions that I've made as state's attorney, as well as sort of the policy direction as the entire state, you know, the 2020, the last 2 years are going to be much more consistent. So that average of 217, they would love for us to, you know, obviously be that high for a higher dollar commitment, but it's just, if I had a crystal ball, I'm just not seeing that staying consistent. I think Dave is probably going to agree with me on that. So,
It looks to me, Dan, if we were to pay an average of 52, let's just take 21 as an average. I don't know what 22 ended up at, but if it's higher, lower than 50, but at $450 a day, if we were paying a flat fee per day, we're at about $23,400 in expense versus the 122 that we've been paying. So that makes a big difference in how they bond and how they talk to the legislature. So, yeah, I don't have a problem. We'll figure out what the fee is, but the daily fee costs us a heck of a lot less as long as we don't have to guarantee X number of days, which is what I think they're going to come back and ask us to guarantee X number of days.
don't think
which
they
we probably
will.
wouldn't do. That's the issue they had with their jail down there. In order to get the bond issue to pencil out, they had to have a guaranteed numbers of days that they would use jail cells. Well, that started and it went fine, except they all of a sudden Lincoln County needs another jail because Pennington County, or not Pennington, Lincoln County and Minnehaha County, that agreement didn't work out really well for Lincoln County. It did for Minnehaha, but now they're using more of their beds themselves.
But I think that's the other piece of it is if they know that folks are anticipating that a bed day rate is reasonable and they're not necessarily competing with anybody else, that changes the way that they plan for the number of beds used, because they're now looking at a 14 county draw area for how many beds are needed versus there are a couple other places that people might want to go. We don't have to build all of those beds in Minnehaha County. I think if they had their preference, they wouldn't want to build more beds than is necessary. But I think understanding that there are counties that are willing to partner with them is part of the conversation. When we built our detention center, we specifically asked other counties, is this something that, you would participate in the future on a bed day basis, not guaranteeing a number of beds for other counties, but understanding that that's something that helps support the size for long-term growth. That the goal is not to fill our beds all the time. Like, we don't actually want more criminals in jail. And I don't think they do either, but I think they want to make sure that they've got the support to actually take care of the facility the way that they need to. And I would be supportive of a letter indicating that we support their move to bed day charges and their efforts to plan and build a facility, especially utilizing state support if it's available.
What we don't have is any information on the other 13 counties or whatever it is, what their bed days are. They may not have the programs we pay for and to reduce this type of day activity that we need down there. You're $100,000 difference a year. And Dan, I have no idea what, if we total up everything we pay to support juvenile services here, are we close to 100,000 or are we a lot less than that?
Well, the JDI position that the county is supporting, I think it was $75,000 to the Boys and Girls Club.
And that included our teen court, right?
That includes teen court, so really it's only 50 because 25 of that is typically given every year. And then, the 47,000 for the bond forfeitures, that was obviously a one-time deal, so it's hard to count that. So to answer your question, Mike, no, I mean, it's far under that, just to support the diversion programming.
When you said juvenile services, did you, because we didn't talk about, there's court-appointed attorney's fees, there's the travel costs back and forth, there's, there's a lot more to it than, yeah.
But I'm just looking at this $100,000 difference on top of it. We'd be better off spending that money in diversion type programs, I think, than we would in incarceration type expenses. So, I agree with should be a per day account. And again, I don't know the other counties have all the diversion programs we have, and their daily counts maybe staying steady over a 5-year average, where ours has dropped drastically. That puts us in a different ballgame.
Yeah, and I think Yankton is probably the other larger county that has the contract with Minnehaha. And I would be curious to see whether or not their numbers have declined in the last 5 years. But I would think Yankton, I'm not sure who else that is similar size to Brookings would contract with Minnehaha.
And I don't know why when they sent out the numbers, we wouldn't have the numbers for 14 counties so we could look and see what's going on. When I read that, I thought, why aren't we looking at so we can see it across the board? There was just not enough information. I have one more question, though. When we look at the 52 and the 38 in 2020 and 2021, it would be interesting to know, and I don't think either Dave or Dan probably have this at the top of their heads, how many of those overnights where a kid's picked up, they're going to have their hearing within 48 hours, is that correct? So they're held for 2 nights down there. I don't know, based on what Dave said today about the co-locator stuff, we were hoping we could keep them here for those 2 nights if we're going to be able to still do that. How many of those were the 2 nights? Because I'll bet a lot of them are, that our jail will be handling those in the future, I think. But we can't tell that from the statistics that we've got there.
Yeah, just to guess, I would say half. I would say half of those days that you see is just that 48-hour hold, where they're picked up, they're brought down there, then they're either the hearing happens via Zoom or it's telephonic, the judge releases them, Dave goes back down there, picks them up, brings them back to be released to the parents, or they're brought back up for the hearing, at which time they're released there. And I think you would cut that number in half, probably, with that as well.
Reading the letter, that's in front of us here, it says Minnehaha seeks to find a payment method fair and equitable to all. 5-year average gives counties an expense even though they did not use JDC. I mean, we're the poster child of that right now. I mean, because of our previous years there. So for us not to look at a flat fee, it would be shocking to me and for us not to try to go back to where we were before. And then they basically explain that their estimate is going to be 400 to 450 based off of a $50 million new construction project. Currently, we pay a rate of 278. And so, you know, they're giving us some numbers here of a ballpark number that, you know, with the documentation that came in our packet, they've definitely done their homework, and that, you know, for sure. So, you know, I don't know why we wouldn't do a flat fee down the road, but, you know, do they need us to have, what's the reasoning to ask us to approve the flat fee? What did Cindy say to you that that's why that's in there? Because that's in the piece they gave us.
Yeah.
It just says the first thing is a flat fee. It's not even, the second one is we approve, or I don't know what does it say there, Stacy, in that couple pages back?
The move to a
Right
flat
here.
fee changes the way they do their pro forma. So it changes the total number of beds that they need to have available, as opposed to planning for your average number of bed days. Means we have to plan based on the last 5 years average number of bed days, so that we can calculate the number of beds that are necessary, so we know what to build, versus a bed day charge where if we've got beds available, you use them when they're available. We're not overbuilding to the capacity that you needed 5 years ago, or the rolling average of the capacity that you needed. And so understanding that, so that helps them scale the facility appropriately, especially if other counties are doing what we are doing, so that that 48-hour hold doesn't end up in JDC potentially, or that more folks are doing JDAI and diversion. It changes the total number of beds that you actually have to build, because you're not planning for 300 bed days by Brookings County plus 300 bed days by Yankton County plus however many bed days is the rolling average for whoever, to figure out how many total beds you need.
You know, and so I'm trying to figure out here, you know, again, is that flat fee for us to say yes integral to them, or is that a conversation we can have with them? Because I mean, I can't see us not wanting the flat fee.
So my question is, if we, the Brookings County Commission, are supportive of the idea of moving to a flat fee for bed days used, should the Minnehaha County Juvenile Justice Center be approved, subject to final contract negotiations on the cost per bed, that is all we would have to say to assure that we still get a seat at the table to negotiate that contract, and we're not committing ourselves to a rate.
Or could we say that we fully support them building the center, like, you know, Ryan had said, all that stuff, and we look forward to negotiating with them over the how to determine the best rate for the county, but we don't have enough information yet.
But I think what's important to remember is that they're not intending for it to be our facility. They're intending for it to be their facility.
Yep.
So ultimately, it's up to them.
Yep.
But do we support that? And is that something, because we are currently under a joint powers agreement, I think they still have to legally ask us about what that situation would look like in terms of how they move forward. Because they could be the ones to terminate the joint powers agreement at any time and say, you're all on your own, figure it out. And we're going to go build this facility. So.
Because I can just see Minnehaha looking at us going, why wouldn't you guys approve the flat fee?
I completely agree.
That's the reason we're doing it, is probably for you guys.
For
and
our
Yankton,
benefit.
For our benefit. And so I'm kind of, after thinking about it, you know, and reconsidering the flat fee, because I think it would probably be a no-brainer for us based off of what we're paying right now and our usage. And that could change, you know, but at least we're paying for what we use, not just a bed that we have potential to get to, and maybe not even there available for us.
The other piece of this is if it doesn't move forward in the next 3 years, that day rate's going to continue to go up. So it's not like construction is getting cheaper. It's not. It's not going down anytime in the next several years. And so they know, and we know, that $450 a day is based on whatever their final financing package looks like. That financing, it's debt service and cost of operation.
Our problem with looking at the 20 and 21 numbers, just to say this, is if we have a new state's attorney or we have a new juvenile judge, those numbers can change and do change based on those things. So just because we've had 2 pretty good years doesn't mean that that will be the trend that will continue. Just to be thinking about that, there's no guarantee on that.
So,
Support of the project letter is what they're asking for. They're not asking us if we support a rate or a contribution. So I think a simple letter of support to the legislature, basically, this is what it's for them to update their facility. And I think we could support the idea of the project, subject to negotiation, doesn't need to be in it. The legislature is going to ask them, "Well, where is your commitment from each of the counties as far as dollars and cents is concerned?" At that point, then we would have to have that discussion of whether it's per day or we're going to make a flat contribution to the construction of the project, which I wouldn't do, so because it's not our project. But I think we need to be even a little bit looser on our letter of support, basically supporting the project, not necessarily talk about the finances or the day rate, because that's not determined yet.
I mean, if we wanted to, if we didn't want the flat fee, we could just take the first sentence out and say, we, Brookings County Commission, support the intention of Minnehaha County to build a new juvenile facility. Not meet there, use the next session. I guess the thing I'm caught up on, and I think we all are, is why do they need to know if we're okay with a flat fee? You know, I mean, that's the question. And if we're hindering their planning purposes or their ability to plan the size of their building because they don't know if we're gonna go there, I would say we should put it in, because for us that's the best way to go as of the way numbers look right now, unless Leanne's correct that things change and go that way. But we don't have to put it in either. Maybe we can just do the 2 second paragraphs and not even put the flat fee in there and have further discussion. Because if they come back to us and say, we really need to know if you're okay with a flat fee because this is the reasons we need to know and this is what we're looking for, then maybe we can have that discussion again.
Right.
But if we wanted to move forward with the last 2 paragraphs, keep the flat fee out of there for the time being, and have further discussion. Again, me personally, I think it'd be a no-brainer for us to do a flat fee, considering what we're paying right now.
And what we know today.
So, but I also want to know how they're planning, because obviously they've done, with the information they gave us, they have done a lot of number crunching, a lot of numbers, and I'm guessing they're getting advised that you need to know if people are willing to pay this way, because if they aren't, that's going to make a difference on how big we build and how many beds we need to supply. So, but
In whatever grant money they're getting, it could be an 80-20% split. They may need to know if they're going to have enough for the 20%. I mean, it's support. They need state support to build a facility. And the more counties that support it, the better off they are. But
so is there a
the
motion?
dollar amount, I think that's where it's coming from.
Is there a motion?
yeah, I'll make a motion here. I'll make a motion that we strike the first paragraph there, I guess, and go down to the second paragraph and start that we, the Brookings County Commission, support the intention, and that can be our first paragraph. And then the second paragraph can be there, I don't know if we want to say invite further discussion with Minnehaha County on fee structure, or something like that. I don't know if we can do that, or not even put anything at all. I could leave it blank too.
Maybe it could be, we understand the current joint powers agreement will remain in place while the new facility is being constructed, and that future conversations or agreements, whatever word we want there, will need to be negotiated regarding the cost.
Collaborative motion by Commissioner Krogman with an assist.
the idea of not having the word flat fee
Yeah.
in it anywhere in this particular, participation would, as you stated, would be negotiated.
So is there a second?
Second.
Great. Any further discussion?
Stacy, you have that, or does Jenna have that?
Do you want to
Repeat-
read the motion back to us, just for clarity?
Join it, Jenna.
Yeah, let's get the final letter.
I don't-
We'll try to get this, but I have motion by Krogman to strike the first paragraph, so then we would start, "We, the Brookings County Commission, support the intention of Minnehaha County to build a new juvenile justice facility, as the current one does not meet the needs of those supported. Future conversations will need to be negotiated." Does that sound about right? No? Okay. Do you want to repeat then?
Well, the next paragraph, we'd start that next paragraph again that's below there. We understand the current joint powers agreement would remain in place while the new facility is constructed. And then this is where Leanne's sentence kicks in. So we'd strike any change in the flat fee, that would be gone. And then Leanne's comments would fit in there.
Which were kind of like. And the cost of fees to use the facility would be negotiated in a new joint powers agreement.
When the new housing units are open, which is anticipated to be fourth quarter of 2024.
Sounds good.
Yep.
Sounds great. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor? Oh, nope, we're doing a roll call on that one. Sorry, Jenna.
Pierce?
Aye.
Bartley?
Aye.
Jensen?
Aye.
Krogman?
Aye.
Boersma?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Super. Item Y, work plan update.
The updated work plan was included in your packet. I mean, if we want to, I can run through the highlights. December, so this is as of December here, the 5-year plan. I think we heard this at the last meeting that our 5-year plan was approved by the DOT. It was now, and it was done, the commission back in September. Rural access infrastructure applications with the township dollars, those were due at the end of October. Right now, we have a number of applications. Brian and I have looked at them. I know there's several projects that Brian is looking at. Those will come to the commission at the first meeting in January for approval of the projects for rural access infrastructure funding in 2023. Fund balance, future planning, we did sign dollars for the Country Club Bridge. Jail expansion, still working on kind of some punch list items. We were thinking that the final jail progress meeting was going to be December 1st, but I think we're going to have one more here at the beginning of January. We're thinking after emails with Chad the 5th, I think that first Thursday. So mark your calendars, 9 a.m. on January 5th. We'll do one more, and that will be the final progress meeting. Cross your fingers. Joint jurisdiction ordinance, we're having the second reading and the public hearing and hopefully approval tonight at 6 o'clock. The 214th Street project, in the process of contract negotiations on those RFPs. Let's see. I think the interchange project, we've been getting weekly updates. Now that's on hold as winter has set in there. Where's the next thing?
You want to change the language so it's not Jackie Lanning giving us
Oh.
updated reports? City engineer item D under
I
6.
did down here. Charlie Richter is sending weekly progress updates. I think this was just past information. Samara, they did receive that $450,000 grant. We're scheduling, we actually have another meeting now scheduled for tomorrow at 3 o'clock next door in the community room. ARPA funds were approved for salaries in the general fund. Employee handbook, we approved those updates in November. I did send out an email. We're scheduling personnel manual review, policy manual reviews with all staff several times in January here. 9th, 10th, the week of the 8th, 9th, 10th that week. So I sent out emails yesterday to start getting everybody scheduled for policy manual reviews. And that's, I think, all of the changes that I had to that, unless you had something else.
Do you want some of those fund balance assignments in some of
I can add
those
to that.
project updates?
And it's great that this was on the calendar today. I just wonder if this work plan maybe shouldn't be on the next agenda so that the two new commissioners coming on, if they have questions, they'd have an opportunity to ask those.
Yeah.
Just a thought.
Well, he is going to probably be the chair, so he'll have some say in that.
The other one, Stacy, is if the courthouse roof project is something, I am planning to get you that RFP.
Okay.
It won't be approved or anything until after I'm gone, which is fine, but I will get you a draft of that.
And the courthouse security grant I was submitted to, so hopefully be hearing back on that. Okay.
Great. Anything else? All right. We will move on to item Z. We made it all the way through the alphabet. Consensus to publish a notice of supplemental budget hearing. And so
I need consensus from the board to publish that notice. We'll be publishing that for a supplemental budget in 2023, but we have to have consensus to do the notice initially. So there will be.
Do you want consensus or do you want a motion?
Consensus is fine.
Okay. So
I have
no motion.
I see
required.
shaking heads. Yes.
So yes. Perfect. Move on to item 10, Commission Department Directors Report.
November Veteran Service Officer numbers are there, 67 appointments, 6 outreach events. Courtney is keeping busy there. The updated jail financial spreadsheet as we finish, or as we wrap up that project, I have this updated with final BKV and Henry Carlson numbers. As you can see here in the yellow, that total project is just under $18 million. Really about the only thing I know that will probably still get bills in, besides maybe some FF&E type items in 2023, will be we have about $1,800 left on the questions and solutions engineering contract for commissioning of the facility. So pretty minimal there as far as our contracts go, and then some FF&E and some technology things that I know Dave and I have kind of shared some information back and forth. So working on that, but wanted to give you an update on that. Brian and I kind of went back and forth, and I started something and he added to this spreadsheet. So as we get these bridge grants, we want to put kind of that information together so we know when we were awarded a particular grant, when we budgeted for a particular grant. So there, again, we're not budgeting for these bridges more than once, and then it rolls into fund balance, and then we assign it, whether we need to assign it. So if, you can see here, we have not assigned some of these things yet because they haven't been budgeted for. This Bruce Preservation Bridge, though, we do need to do an assignment for that, and we'll be looking at that number exactly and getting that done after the first of the year. Just some additional information, some cost estimates, bid date, what our percentage of payment was, and then that cost share for the county. Construction year, or proposed construction year, is kind of an estimate for some of those out there, remaining left to pay. And then whether or not we pay it and then get reimbursed, or if it's something that's kind of an ongoing cost share. So Brian and I are going to work together to keep this spreadsheet now updated as we are awarded more big grants as well as the local federal grants. So wanted to share that with you. So you'll be seeing that here occasionally. Pennington County Board of County Commissioners had sent this out to a number of folks regarding proposed changes to South Dakota election laws and establishing post-election audits. You know, this went out to a number of legislators as well as the county auditors across the state. So you can read through that, kind of Pennington County, their take on after the election this past fall, and some of their suggestions.
Stacy? The Pennington County letter, Commissioner Bartley and I are meeting with Tim Reed tomorrow morning. Would you mind emailing me a copy of that? I'd like to print it for that meeting. I don't know how to print off box.
And I know Tim actually sent this to me, so I know he hasn't seen it. So, but I can forward it to you. Okay. I don't know if any of the commissioners are interested in running for the South Dakota Retirement System Board of Trustees, but there's having an election for a board seat, and there's that information is included in my staff report if you're interested in that. And then Misty had asked me to discuss, and Larry, you can maybe chime in because I think this, because she wasn't feeling well. She's been approached about purchasing some additional chemical at 2022 prices. The weed board did talk about that at their meeting on the 8th, but they didn't really discuss how much to purchase. You know, the bid limit on supplies is $25,000, so you would not be able to purchase more than that without having to bid it. So I still think there probably needs to be a bid because she's going to need more than $25,000 in chemical, but I think she's maybe looking for some direction, but it would be 2023 budget to purchase some of this chemical at 22 pricing. It's, I think, $44 a gallon, 500 gallons.
It was determined by the board it'd be a good purchase at the price it is now because of availability and possibility of going up. I told her to run it by you for the bid limits, or if she needed to get quotes, one of the two.
Okay.
As a complete aside from that, I think there are several entities around the state that are discussing a request to the legislature to raise bid limits because of inflation. And so that may be something that folks may want to weigh in on if we're finding that we're constantly running into situations where it's not practical to bid out a project for something like chemical. State bid limit dictates quantities of things, but it hasn't been adjusted for inflation in probably a decade or more. So
Depends on how the legislation goes through. If it goes through as an emergency bid limit, then it would be in effect immediately when the governor signs it, which would affect this purchase cycle. If it goes to July 1st, the purchase cycle is done with. So
on this one.
act on this one and maybe support the bid limit as an emergency anyway, because I think we'll have some things coming up rather shortly that we may need some bids on, and I'd like to see it higher. So maybe we would support that.
If anybody wanted to bring that to, I don't know, Municipal League or SDACO or SDACC, that seems like a very viable group of folks who would have opinions about those things. So.
And then just some upcoming dates tonight. Don't forget, 6 o'clock, we have the joint meeting here in this room, but prior to that at 3:30, from 3:30 to 5:30, we have our farewell party for Commissioners Pierce and Boersma next door in the community room. So make sure there we'll do a program at 5 o'clock, and then that wraps up about 5:30, and then into here at 6 for the joint meeting. On Monday, offices are closed for Christmas. The following Monday, again, we're closed for New Year's, the New Year's holiday. And just a reminder, again, I think I've told everybody at the last meeting, that first meeting of the new year, January 3rd, we're going to start at 7:45 a.m. with commissioner and department head photos, the group photo. At 8:15, we'll do the oaths of office for commissioners and a couple of our officials. And then hopefully we'll just kind of maybe have a rolling schedule from there, and get rolling right into our first meeting of the new year. Just so you know, we're starting a little bit earlier that day. Looking out a little further, Martin Luther King Jr. holiday on the 16th of January, Brookings Day at the Capitol, through the chamber, that's on the 18th. I need to back up, I did hand out the Volga Fire Department County feed, January 9th, social at 5:30 and the dinner starts at 6. I handed out a flyer on that to each of you this morning. Ledge Conference in February, and then I think Misty had mentioned this morning too about the township meeting out at the BCOAC on Thursday, March 2nd. That starts at 10 o'clock. So that's all I have, unless you have some questions for me.
I don't see any further questions. We'll move on to item 11, State's Attorney's Office report.
The only thing I have is the Department of Corrections sent the county a check that is incentive program that they have for diversions. So we send all of our diversion referral numbers into the Department of Corrections, and then they write a check to each county that participates in that. It's approximately $250 per diversion referral. And then they write you out a check. It's a check that we get every year. It's steadily gone up, and this year's check was, like I said, for a little over 10,000, and I'll give that over to Lori. So,
Great. Any questions for Dan? Hearing none, we'll move on to item 12, Commissioner reports and discussion item.
Well, I have attended the city-county potluck, which was very nice. And then I've been out of state most of the rest of the time, so I don't really have anything else to report. But I would like to say that when I go off the commission at the end of this year, I'm going to miss you all. So thank you.
And thank you. Moving on, Commissioner Bartley.
All righty, well, December 6th planning meeting, and we approved all those things today. It was was a pre-legislative breakfast at the chamber with David Owens, and he's always interesting, but he couldn't make it up here because of the weather, so we did it on Zoom, and it took an extra 15 minutes to get that started, I think it was, but we did get through that, and he made some good points. So, and I also congratulate both these people that are leaving us, these commissioners, Angie and Leanna. It's been a pleasure to work with both of you over the years. You with a couple more years than Angie with one term, but it's been a pleasure, and I appreciate all your thoughts and comments over the years and your ability to work together with all of us. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Jensen.
Went out to Innovation Campus dedication. There was 3 awards given to some individuals by local businessmen and a few of us commissioners. On the 7th, Conservation Board meeting. They're wrapping up the year. Their building has been repaired. They're moving forward, but inflation is hitting them everywhere with the tree prices are going up and availability, and it just getting tougher for them also. On the 8th, the weed board meeting, we've talked a little bit in length about that. The 9th, they had an East Brookings Business Men's meeting. A lot of conversation on 214th Street. Angie gave a good update on the county's, what been all going on in the county. Should probably give us a little more briefing on that. And the 15th, I did a pre-legislative breakfast, and with the update from David Owen. And to finish, I'd like to thank both Commissioner Boersman and Pierce for their time on the commission. It's been an honor and a privilege, and thank you both.
Thank you. Commissioner Krogman.
The 8th, we had an office meeting with Arc Design for updates to our offices here on the county level. And so we did a walk around there for that. And then the 12th, it was East Brookings. So that's what I have. But I want to thank you guys for your leadership. It's been a pleasure to work with you. You're very talented individuals. And I appreciate everything you've done and in your service to Brookings County. Thank you.
Thank you. Mine is also pretty short. So the 12th, the East Brookings had their annual meeting, and we kind of provided an update as it relates to major county road projects, the completion of the detention center project, future kind of looking forward to 214th and kind of planning for those types of things. And then on the 13th, the discussion with Banner and Associates and kind of our team about 214th for that RFP. So I had some discussion with them about scope modifications. And then the 19th, so just yesterday, the city consultant for economic development master plan presented their master plan to BEDC and the chamber and City of Brookings and a handful of constituents. It was interesting. It was a very high level overview. I look forward to seeing how that starts to develop actual action items, because right now it feels very high level to me. And so I look forward to seeing how the City of Brookings and the entities involved in that kind of make that kind of a boots on the ground action plan. So that'll be interesting. And then to Commissioners Bartley, Jensen, Krogman, and Pierce, thank you for the pleasure of allowing me to serve with you. To Commissioners-elect Hostler and Vanderwall, wish you well, and happily hand the reins into your capable hands. And to our department heads and staff, this has been one of the most, frankly, wonderful groups of people to work with that I've had the pleasure of working alongside. And so thank you very much for letting me jump in for the very steep learning curve. It's been great. So thank you. And with that, we'll save the big stuff for later, right? Yeah. We'll have cake. So with that, we'll move to item 13, an executive session in accordance with South Dakota Codified Law, Section 1-25-2, parentheses 1 and 4 for personnel and contract negotiations. Is there a motion to enter into executive session?
So move.
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Motion carries. We will take a brief 5-minute recess. Is there a motion to leave executive session?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Agenda item number 14 is action to approve agreement number 22-103, short form of agreement between Brookings County and Banner Associates Incorporated for professional services on 214th Street's feasibility and H&H study.
Move
The
approval.
motion we need is to approve as amended to read.
Item 4.01E, basis of payment 1, and then C, it would read total compensation for services and reimbursement of expenses not to exceed $85,000.
So with that one amendment, is there a motion to approve as amended?
So move.
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by, oh, we need a roll call, actually. Nope. Stacy, would you mind calling the roll on that?
Sure. Ryan? No, Krogman? Jensen?
Aye.
Bartley?
Aye.
Pierce?
Aye.
Boersma?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Great, thank you. Woo! Yeah, that. Motion carries. So, item 15 is adjournment. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign? Goodbye.